What's up, everybody? As you can see in the title, today we're doing something a little different than the usual. New year, we got to bring some new content for you guys. We are getting back into the swing of uploading content, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you don't have to worry about missing anything we drop. Honestly, most of you, if you watched our other videos like tunes and just any of the content we've put out, you know I always talk about album art. I always find myself looking at different music album art and trying to figure out in my head, like, okay, how'd they do this? How'd they go about taking these pictures and then how they edit it? But I thought I should make a series about it because I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that will benefit from just learning some quick little Photoshop and photography hack that could help you in any of your projects. All right, so today the cover we're going to be doing is Partynextdoor's self-titled first album, Partynextdoor. The most noticeable thing to me in this picture, there's two things that pop out to me. It's one, he did a opacity overlay, so we're gonna do that in Photoshop. As far as the photography of the picture goes, it's pretty much just like a 45-degree angle from a little bit lower. Now, there is a little bit of a picture doubling effect he did here, and that's just achieved by overlaying the same picture on top of itself in Photoshop and changing the opacity, but we're gonna get to that. Another thing is these lights that are in his black shirt, that's also a post-production graphic overlay. So really all we need to do is head to the studio, take a couple pictures wearing a black shirt, a black do-rag. All right, now tip number one when trying to do shoots in general, not just recreating things, is shoot for the edit. I tell all my friends this that ask me like photography help and stuff, always try to learn the editing software for whatever your project that you're shooting if you're a cameraman, and vice versa. Try to learn some camera tricks if you're an editor. Now let's go ahead and head over to the studio. Shout out to my dad for helping me take these pictures. We're gonna jump right into it. Let's go.
All right, you guys, we're here on the computer. I'm gonna go ahead and watch some of this photography footage with you guys and kind of break down like what it is I was going for. So let's go ahead and hop into this clip. All right, so first things first, please excuse this ripped do-rag. Long story, but we had to use it. I'm gonna actually use this as a good Photoshop opportunity to show you guys how to fix little errors like this. So no problem, it's just adding to the tutorial. Anyways, we shot on a white backdrop. My dad told me to take a 45-degree angle to kind of match the picture that we're going for here. So the reason we shot on white is because I want to be able to cut myself out of the backdrop real easily. We pretty much are going to do this for all of the different album covers depending on what they require. There may be one where we have to go into the real world to shoot it, but anyways, eyes closed, black shirt, black do-rag, pretty simple, 45-degree angle. My dad right now is getting different like wide shots. I'll put some up on the screen right now of some of the things that he shot, but basically we were just going for a really simple 45-degree angle, black shirt, so we can overlay all that good stuff. Now the pictures didn't come out like the darks aren't as dark as I would want them to be, but honestly we're going to fix that in post, so it's all good. We're not using flash because it's supposed to be a vintagey kind of look, so I want to get the saturation down in post. Yeah, so we're taking pretty much a medium shot here. Let's fast forward a little bit. I think, yeah, so we got the shot pretty quickly. He's showing me the shot and I was pretty much like, yeah, okay, that's the one. So now that we have talked about the photography aspect of this, if you're trying to do something like this where you cut yourself out, you really can just use any color behind you and then you can key it out. Alright, so we just took a look at the photo shoot session. Again, shout out to my dad for helping me out with that. Now we're going to take the picture we decided and drag it over here into Photoshop. So, little camera switch there. Let me move this mic. Okay. So, it's too high. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and first things first, I'm going to drag in a picture of the actual Partynextdoor album cover just so we can have it for reference. And I'm gonna make it its own little window here. I'm gonna move around Photoshop for a second. I just like to work with everything like in view, you know? So there we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and find the picture that I chose today. I chose this one. So we took about 30 pictures. Again, not that long of a shoot. We pretty much got it pretty fast because we planned out and we knew what we wanted to do. So I'm gonna drag this in. Some things to do first, I always duplicate the layer just so that if I mess it up, I can go back to it. So I'm gonna turn this off, and I need to separate myself in the background, and I also need to fix this do-rag hole right here that we have, which is a good example you'll see of the content aware fill option. So first things first, we gotta rasterize this layer. That just means make it editable, pretty much. So I'm gonna zoom in. I'm going to go right around here. Let me move this down. To move things around, I'm pressing spacebar to create this hand, and then it lets me like manipulate and drag the image around like so. So I went ahead and selected the lasso tool, which is going to let me make a custom selection area. I'm just going to choose this little area right there. Not bad. See, you got to hold down shift to select multiple areas. Come on, Christian. So select those areas. Now we're selected on the layer we want to make this content aware fill to. This is one of the greatest features in Photoshop in my opinion. So edit, content aware fill. There's no quick key for this, at least as far as I know. If you guys know of one, please leave it in the comments, because that would save me, well, it's barely any time. Anyways, click content aware fill. You see the magic it does. It pretty much figures out what needs to go there. And for the purpose of this video, that is good enough. You can do little tweaks in settings as far as feathering goes. And it actually creates the new layer on top of the original, so you can just turn off this fill. But I'm actually going to combine it with the layer below, which is merging. And now, you would never know that there was a hole in this do-rag. Alright, second thing we got to do is we got to mask out myself from this background. So there's tons of ways you could do this, but I'm going to go ahead and make a mask layer. Double click the mask layer. I'm going to make sure I'm selected on the quick mask tool, and the subtract is highlighted here, not the add, but the get rid of basically. I'm going to increase the brush size by pressing the brackets, or decrease it by pressing the left bracket, increase right bracket. I'm just going to color the area, and you see it kind of figures out what needs to be taken out. So it pretty much got it right there. I just pressed a couple of times and I figured out, oh, that's obviously not the background. Now that's pretty good for the purposes of this. I'm going to actually go in and clean up this beard hair a little bit more, just so it's really good. And I'm gonna make sure I'm selecting on this feather tool. This is specifically for like hair and stuff. And I'm just gonna make sure I'm on the plus this time. And it's going to mask away the hair little inconsistencies in there. I'm just tapping with the mouse right here. Just tapping. Boom. And I'm pretty happy with this mask now. That's pretty good for the purposes of this. So press OK, and that's going to finalize the mask. Now, if I turn off this background layer, it's completely cut out. So now we have the image imported, we fix the do-rag, we have it as its own masked out layer. So I'm going to apply this layer mask, so now the layer is actually transparent background. So next thing I want to do is kind of figure out the spacing of his body on the square and where I need to be. So he doesn't really have any headroom. It's pretty much cut off. So we're going to increase the size of this, and I'm going by the silhouette underneath, because you'll see why in a second. So this little silhouette right here is kind of what I'm following, and it seems like his head's cut off right about there. His shoulder is going off screen, and his right shoulder is pretty much coming to the edge of the canvas. So I'll say something like that. It's pretty good. So now we're matching the silhouette underneath. And to create this weird doubling effect, there's probably a way better way that he did this, but the way I'm gonna do it, Photoshop is just a tool for you to use and really do whatever you want. So I'm gonna duplicate this layer. This is kind of how my brain works and how I think you can achieve this. So I'm gonna actually distort the image on top by holding shift and grabbing this side. And as you see, it's distorting the image and creating a weird looking thing that's not proportional. Don't worry about that. We're going to use this as the amount of the picture we're going to keep masked. So you'll see what I'm saying in a second. I'm gonna create this effect just kind of by hand since I'm recreating. So I'm gonna get it right to where I think this squished image is about the amount of color you see on top of the silhouette. And it seems like it splits down the nose. So I'm pretty much good with this. May just wanna extend this out a little more. And yeah, I'm pretty, make it a little smaller. Pretty much good with this though. So now that I have this weird squished image, I'm going to, again, duplicate the bottom layer. There's a lot of duplicating here. There's a lot of duplicating here, but I'm going to duplicate the bottom. And I'm going to make sure I'm selected on the top squished image. I'm going to right click on top of the image box and go to select pixels. Now it has selected the entire area that is in that picture. And now I'm going to I turn that layer off. I select one of these, I'm gonna turn everything off except for one of these silhouetted regular sized images with the mask still on. I'm just gonna hit this mask button, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna create a mask of this image in this shape. So click it, boom, cut off. It looks weird, right? But if you turn on the bottom image, it's actually continuing the rest of the image that's gone. So now all we need to really do is adjust the opacity of this bottom layer, as you're about to see what I'm gonna do. And you see we're already kind of getting that doubling effect. So we're not completely there yet, but this is the basis of how I'm gonna build this effect. I would like to, it seems to me that in this image, it's kind of less opaque over here, and it's way more transparent over here. Or the opacity is lower over here, the opacity is higher over here, so it's more opaque over here. To achieve that, I'm sure there's some type of gradient opacity you could do, but again, I'm just gonna duplicate this bottom layer. I'm going to select half of the image on the left side. I'm gonna mask that. I'm just gonna get the marquee tool again, which is this button right here, or you can press M. I'm gonna select the other half approximately, and click on this background layer, and then go to mask. So now what I've done is I actually have, try this on so you can see what I did. I have half of it over here and half of it over here. So now I can adjust the opacity separately. So it seems to me like the right opacity, and honestly, I'm gonna apply both of these layer masks just so they're easier to work with. Okay, so now I actually have like half and half of the image. So I'm going to actually decrease the opacity of this side to about, so we can get it about the same as the image over there. And honestly, it's hard to figure out what the correct opacity is before we add the background. So let's go ahead, and right now that background is white. The background in his image is gray, so we're going to get our eyedropper tool, and I could just eyedrop the exact color. And now now that I'm selected on the background layer, I'm gonna press Option Delete, which fills the layer. It's easier than going and grabbing the fill tool. So Option Delete fills the layer with the color in the foreground. To switch between these two colors, you just press X. You can switch colors. So now we have the same exact color, like it's actually the same color. And now we can adjust our opacity of the right side, and we'll be able to see what it looks like on the background. So I'm feeling like that's pretty good. Something like that's pretty good. On the left side, it's way down. It's almost a silhouette. It's so down. Like you almost can't even make anything out. Like it's like that much. Yeah, so I think that's pretty good for now. I may drop this even. Nah, I'll leave it there. All right, so now that we've adjusted our two opacities down below, I do want to kind of fix this layer mask just because I don't want my ear to be completely cut off. In the picture, his ear is still there, and even a little bit of the do-rag is still there. So honestly, I'm going to select the layer mask. Black gets rid of things, and white reveals things. I'm going to press X to make it white, and oh, need the brush tool. and I'm going to shrink that, obviously. And then now that I have white and I'm selecting on the mask, come on, I need the brush tool. Brush tool. I'm going to shrink the size of the brush. I'm going to be on white, and I'm just going to bring back in my ear. It's kind of weird to me to have my ear masked out. So now my ear's back. Feel good about this. My shoulder isn't completely off of the edge, which his is, and kind of helps with this bokeh thing. But we're actually doing the explicit version of the cover, which has the explicit thing over the shoulder, so it doesn't even matter, it's going to be hidden. So I don't need to worry about that. So now what I want to do is adjust some of these color levels. So the way you do adjustment layers, you would think you go up here to adjustments and you're like, oh, I need to change the brightness and contrast. So you would click this, it would give you a layer, but you would be affecting all of the layers beneath that adjustment layer. And I don't want to mess with each layer at the same time. I need to do them individually. So there are some quick keys that I figured out, and one of them for, let's say, curves is Apple M or Command M. I am using a Mac, so my quick keys are in Mac speak, but it's okay. I'm going to Command M that. Now I'm going to go over and change this darkness on this side to kind of crush the blacks and get them to where you almost can't see any detail in my shirt, the same way his is. And I want to increase my highlights just a little bit. All right, boom. Now that I did that, I can actually successfully, let me copy this before I do too much. Copy that and turn one off. So now that I've done that, I'm gonna apply this layer mask, because I still have my layer mask over here on a turned off layer. And we need to bring in this lighting effect. What is that lighting effect? Well, it's called bokeh. So the way to get bokeh, honestly, there's tons of free websites you can go to and find stock pictures of bokeh. One of them, I'm here on Safari, so one of them is called Pexels. I like Pexels, I like Pixabay, there's a whole bunch of them. But you just type in whatever you need, and this is royalty-free stock video, pictures, images, whatever. So as you can see here, I've already searched up bokeh light, and this is how you spell bokeh, B-O-K-E-H. And all of these different blurred bokeh lights are just available for you to get, download. Of course, some of them say that the creator wants you to give them credit. So a normal thing I would search, I would go through, be like, okay, this is kind of what I'm talking about, but I need some, oh, okay, yeah, like something like this actually is pretty good. But maybe I want to keep looking, look at some similar ones. You can just go down a whole rabbit hole in here and kind of find what you need. This one's actually really good. Let me see. I actually like this one a lot. I might use this one. So I'm going to download this, free download. Boom. Just downloaded that. Thanks to that person. Awesome. So shrink that. Now that we have this downloaded, just go into your downloads folder and it should be there. So I'm going to drag in this bokeh lights we just downloaded. And I'm going to press Command, well first I'm going to rasterize it so it's usable. I'm going to do Command T to transform it and change the dimensions of it. Now I have this dimension changing box. I'm going to go to the corner, rotate it a little bit. And it seems like it comes to like the middle of his chest and it kind of falls off the page. So let's do something like this. And we need to do blending options. So I usually just go through these and see which one I like. I'm guessing it's going to be soft light or screen is what I'm looking for, but it just applies different filters to the thing. So let's see what soft light does. Nah. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I like hard light. Ooh, linear light. You see pin light. Like, you never really know what's going to look good until you try it. So I always like to go through because you see my guess was not correct. So that's one layer. I actually downloaded some other bokeh as well before this video, and I think I'm gonna throw that on top of this one just so we can get a nice mix of some cool coloration. So this is another one I found. This one, I like how linear it is, like it's straight in a row. So we're gonna kind of do two bokehs. And this one I'm gonna have like coming off of the page. So I'm gonna shrink it to where the lights are a similar size. I'll have this one coming off of the page. And again, we're gonna right click it, go to blending options, and I'm going to go through all of these different blending layers options. Let's see what looks good. So none of them are really doing what I want them to do. None of them are really doing what I want them to do. Let's see. It's like something like that. Hard light would be kind of what I wanted it to do. Right? So maybe let me turn this off and see. You just gotta mess around with it. So I'm gonna go create a mask, and maybe I need to mask some of this nonsense out because this is getting ridiculous. Let's do subtraction. Okay. Ooh, not that much. Not that much. The size down on that guy. No. Don't want that. Let's see. I'm just gonna go in here and like generally mask out this black area that's causing this problems. You feel me? And I'm gonna smooth this out. I'm gonna feather it a little. Press OK. Alright, pretty happy with that. Let's just go through some more blending modes real quick maybe. This one's cool. Let me get my brush tool, make sure I'm on white. Just reveal the rest of these circles because it kind of chopped them off. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Let me see what happens when I turn the other one on. Honestly, I like this one more than the one we downloaded, so we're just going to use this one. And I'm going to increase this, drag it off a little. So there's that effect. Next, we should finish adding some color. So obviously I'm way lighter than the way this looks. It has way more of an orange, like grunge tint to it. His silhouette has a blue. So we're going to deal with all of those things now. So let's go ahead and hit for hue and saturation. Let's go Apple U. And again, we're doing just the levels for this layer here. I'm gonna increase the saturation already. Looking a little better. His is really extreme, so we gotta get extreme. Let's bring lightness down a little bit. I need to add some like orange into my skin. Honestly, this is looking pretty good. I didn't shoot it as dramatically as he did, which next time I do this, I mean, look, you can really pull crazy colors out of this thing. But like I was saying, I didn't really shoot as dramatic as he did, so it's not gonna look as crazy. We can add some film grain, make it look a little better. I'm just trying to push the colors right now to figure out where I want it. Let's have it like right about there or something. So I'm just a little more orange, but it's still believable. Let's go to the silhouette on the right side and do the exact same thing. So Command U, and we're going to go ahead and go blue with this guy, push blue, but take the saturation out a lot. So it's like barely blue. And that contrast is really helping with the blue and the red. Let's maybe take some of this, make it a little more transparent, and the darkness down. So it's just I'm pushing and pulling, trying to. This is why it helps to have the effect open. I mean, have the example open next to you when you're doing this. And when we add film grain, it's gonna look way better. And we don't really need to adjust the levels on the left area. Okay. There's this trick I could also do here where duplicate this. All right. Oh yeah, I create an open layer. I select all the pixels here, and I'm gonna go to my gradient tool. No, I'm just gonna fill this kind of with, let's say, nice darkish reddish situation. Let's do that. Fill, right? And then I'm going to grab my gradient tool, go to the circular. I'm going to do a light color for that highlight on his temple. Let's see, it's like a yellow thing. So let's do this. And I'm going to set the overlay on this to literally be overlay. Right? Just turn on our regular layer so we can see what we're doing. So now that it's on overlay, I'm going to just drag this and create a little circular hit right there. Now that's a little too intense for me, so I think I'm going to bring the opacity down to like 40 something. See what that does. Ooh, I like that. Maybe one more. A little too much. And again, it's just push and pull, so we're going to go down even more. I think this is good. Let's bring the opacity of this whole thing overall down a little bit, just so it's not as crazy. Boom. So that is how, I mean, you see, drastically, way better. Silhouette we have both silhouettes. Next, I want to bring in some film grain. So those same websites like Pixels and Pixabay, you can type in film grain and you can get all types of cool stuff to use. Now I'm going to drag in this film grain I found. It just comes like this gray texture that allows you to overlay something like this. Let's put on the whole image. You can overlay something like this on the entire image. Right? And it's gonna cause a really cool effect. So I'm going to overlay. Ooh, some of these are looking good. I think I like this one a lot. Color burn. Color burn might be the favorite for this effect. Let's just see. I mean, I thought it would be overlay, but that's not really doing enough for me. Something like this could be cool. Linear light, maybe? I think linear light, if we push the opacity down, it could look cool. Let's see what the other one I like, linear burn. No, I think we're gonna do hard light. So let's do hard light for that. And I want to just select the exact same mask that I had before. So I'm going to mask this into just be myself right here. And maybe also include that other silhouette. So why not? Let's do that. Let's select these pixels and let's include that in our mask. So let's go to white and let's press Command Fill. And now we've included that area as well in our film grain mask. So let's push this opacity down a bit. It's a little intense. But again, this just adds some like texture to the thing. We didn't really want to put it on the background so much, but I'm okay with just putting it on the image that's ourselves. And let's save, by the way. Number one tip I can give you guys as a Photoshopper. Don't play around, always save your projects. Now that we added some more color and stuff, we kind of need to go back in and adjust the curves. So I'm gonna go Command M. Let's just drop these shadows a little bit again to be a little more intense because we want to kill those blacks. And I think this is looking really good, you guys. The only other thing I would really want to add would maybe be some motion blur. So let's go to filter, blur, and we can do Gaussian blur. Gaussian blur might be the best. So I'm gonna move this little viewer window to an area where we can really see what's going on. And I want to just increase the slider and see what happens. So I don't want it to be that clear of a picture. Like you can really get crazy with the blur you do. I just want to put a little bit on it. So I want it to have that film effect, you know? So boom. I'm pretty happy with this, guys. Like this is looking good for me, for the purposes of this. I mean, you could add some more shadows and stuff. Like, If you want, we could, let me see, what is this? I don't know what this is. We could add some shadows and stuff. And maybe we will do that, honestly. Maybe we will do that. I'll open up one more layer. I will select all of the pixels when it comes to this guy. And actually, no, not that one. Let's select all of these pixels. Yeah, select all those pixels, come in here. Let's grab black. Let's go gradient tool. From black to transparent, we want right here. Black to transparent. And I'm just gonna we need to be on our pixels. Select pixels. Come back here into our blank layer. Let's do be on a flat line, you guys. Come on. Our opacity needs to come up. Okay, there we go. So this is kind of what I wanted to do. And then I'm going to change the opacity of this overall layer way down where it's not that intense, but we still get a little bit of a darkening just because it was still a little too light for me. So yeah, that's a little too light. This is kind of more realistic of what the effect is. I'm gonna get my wand tool, click inside the selected area to deselect it. Let's go back over here, maybe increase the opacity slightly. I'm looking at the other one. Yeah, this is looking a little better. So pretty much I'm happy with what we've done here. The only other thing that really there is would be I need to grab the parental advisory thing, which is just a PNG image I have. I'm going to shrink it to about the size it is in the explicit version, drop it in the corner like they have it, and let me make that a little smaller. Drop it in the corner, and okay, now that I'm looking at it, this darkness is a little too much. Like, let me decrease that even more. Like, that barely needs to be there. Okay, so now we have this. The only thing would be to add the text. I could type Partynextdoor. I think I'm just gonna type Cook the Bum since that's my Instagram handle. Cook the Bum. And I downloaded this text from the internet called LOT, which looks exactly like the Partynextdoor text. Like, it looks exactly the same. So to create the text effect that they have, I'm gonna make the text about this big or whatever. Doesn't matter where it is right now. I'm gonna grab the rectangular creation tool, which I could just use the marquee tool right here actually. Draw a rectangle approximately, make it white. Option delete to fill. Oh, I need to do it on the layer. Option delete to fill. Drag it below the text. Now we have the text pretty much there, but I need to, let's get it perfect, you know. I'm gonna drag this to be centered pretty much. Now I'm gonna grab the text like this, pretty much centered. Right, and I'm gonna drag this down into the box. Make sure that's pretty much centered in the box. That looks good enough. I'm going to rasterize the type, so now it's not type anymore, it's actually selectable pixels. Click in here, select pixels. I love selecting pixels. Now we have the pixel selected, we're on the white layer. Let's just go ahead and press the delete button to delete those pixels from the white layer. Wand tool, deselect. Now we have this cutout thing that they used in their title, in their cover. Let's just center this bad boy right underneath my chin in the picture. Well, center it. Come on. There we go. Put it like right about there. And I'm gonna call this one done. That's pretty much good enough for the purposes of this video. That is how I would deconstruct Partynextdoor's album, kind of put my own little spin on it.
All right, so you just saw me go from this, and I recreated it, and I put my own spin on it, made it a little cleaner, made this. If you guys have any album covers you want to see me do this process too, the whole photo shoot, Photoshop thing, leave a comment down below, DM us on IG, let us know what your favorite album cover is, and I just might remake it. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel because we are going to be dropping a lot of stuff in the very, very near future. As always, you guys, thanks for watching, and stay bummy.